Ellen is right. Everything has become far too political, and her statement against hateful partisanship is a victory for both America and the civil society. Hello, this is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government, dailytorch.com. Today, we're going to be talking about Ellen DeGeneres, pop culture, the NFL, and the state of partisanship and politics in our society today and what role that it's playing. I believe in dividing our country far more than it needs to be. We have you're watching a political program here. You're probably expecting to hear a little bit about politics along with economics and other policy-based analyses. But sometimes when you turn on a movie or the television and you're trying to escape from politics, you might find that it's just jammed in there anyways. And I think that's kind of happening a lot in society, and certainly it's becoming more and more prominent. And in this case, Ellen DeGeneres was pictured at a football game, the Cowboys versus the Packers on October 6th with George W. Bush. They're having a good time watching the game and not doing politics, but nonetheless, because former President Bush is a Republican and Ellen DeGeneres is not, she's a liberal Democrat from Hollywood, then this is going to be very controversial for some of her supporters, perhaps, who think that everything should be partisan. And Ellen DeGeneres, to her credit, doesn't agree. Now there was it was not until, however, she defended her friendship with former President Bush that I think the full fury of Hollywood came down on her. Here's Mark Ruffalo calling, you might recognize him from the Avengers Marvel series, calling former President Bush a war criminal, and Susan Sarandon, she echoes these claims that Bush is a war criminal. Jamila Jamil says that, oh, I'm just learning more about Bush, and boy, is he terrible. What a monstrous leader. And so this is what she's got to put up with for not being a hateful partisan, basically. I'm gonna play a little clip from the Ellen. She did a monologue on our program that I think is actually quite excellent, and everyone should I think pay attention to what she's saying here, because it's important not just for her, but for our entire civil society.
But during the game, they showed a shot of George and me laughing together, and so people were upset. They thought, why is a gay Hollywood liberal sitting next to a conservative Republican president? Didn't even notice I'm holding the brand new iPhone 11. And but a lot of people were mad, and they did what people do when they're mad. They tweet, and but here's one tweet that I loved. This person says, Ellen and George Bush together makes me have faith in America again. And exactly. Here's the thing. I'm friends with George Bush. In fact, I'm friends with a lot of people who don't share the same beliefs that I have. We're all different, and I think that we've forgotten that that's okay, that we're all different. For instance, I wish people wouldn't wear fur. I don't like it, but I'm friends with people who wear fur. And I'm friends with people who are furry, as a matter of fact. I have friends who should tweeze more. And but just because I don't agree with someone on everything doesn't mean that I'm not going to be friends with them. When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people that think the same way that you do. I mean be kind to everyone. Doesn't matter.
So there you see and her audience loved that. They're tired of the vicious, hateful partisanship as well. Not everything's political, and I mean, I've been writing a lot about incidents of political violence, people being kind of assaulted at restaurants for wearing "Make America Great Again" hats, Trump supporters being assaulted at outside of Trump rallies, and other acts of political violence. The mass shootings that occurred in Ohio and Texas recently, one by someone who was a Trump supporter, the other by somebody who was a leftist and opposed Trump. But the idea that people are becoming more and more radicalized in their beliefs, and this is kind of intruding upon our day-to-day existence. I think that the country is being torn apart over everything: politics, cultural issues, economics, foreign policy, social justice. Everything's being put through that prism nowadays, and the issues we're confronting today, some of them are irreconcilable. But they're coming to define every aspect of our existence, including who we're allowed to keep company with, friends and family included. We're all in camps. And so this is kind of breaking our bonds with friends and family. And if we don't stop it, probably our country, we can lose everything. Don't think we can't. This was a lighthearted moment where Ellen DeGeneres is sitting with the president, sharing and enjoying the football game. And I think, that's the America I think most people live in, that they have friends and families who they disagree with, but they're not on issues, and they could be big issues. But this is why we have elections. This is why we have a republic and representation, so that we can air out those grievances and those differences in a kind of controlled setting, a civil setting. That's why we call it a civil society. And I got to applaud Ellen DeGeneres here for standing up and saying, you know what, we can all be different, but that's okay. We're going to have our differences. And coming from the pop culture and the entertainment community, this is really refreshing, I think, from Ellen DeGeneres, and I wish more prominent celebrities would behave in this way. I mean, you're watching a political program right now here with Daily Torch and Americans for Limited Government. You're probably used to hearing about politics, economic, public policy issues, because that's what we're oriented to. But should that be everything? Like, should people be making political statements about at NFL games, kneeling during the national anthem, and that sort of thing? Everything's a political statement. I mean, you can't even enjoy Star Wars anymore without, if you're a Trump. This was Mark Hamill for Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. You may recognize him as. And Ivanka Trump posted this fun picture of her family, and the kid's dressed up as a Star Wars character, and she writes, "This force is strong in my family." And Mark Hamill writes, "You misspelled fraud. Go force yourself." And it's like, they're just posting a family picture. They enjoy Star Wars. Is there something wrong with that? I mean, I guess everything's political, because if you're Republican or if you support President Trump, I guess you're not allowed to enjoy Star Wars without the star of Star Wars attacking you. I mean, I grew up watching those movies, and to me, it was something that united our family. We could disagree about a lot of things, but Star Wars was awesome. Now Mark Hamill got excoriated for doing this because he's attacking a little kid who's dressed up as a Star Wars character. Probably looks up to, enjoys the Luke Skywalker character, as I did when I was that kid's age. Now, a day later, he comes back, and Chris Lake writes, "Forget the parents, the kid rocks." And he agrees. Now, yeah, the kid's awesome. And wasn't that the point of the picture? They're posting a fun picture, a family picture, and just sharing Star Wars with people. I don't get it. And so, and the reason I don't get it is because my parents, my entire family are Democrats. I'm not, but we're family at the end of the day, and we love each other unconditionally. So family first, not politics, and country first, not party. But I think that, and you see it in the extreme cases when somebody's gonna, act in like a politically violent way, but just this vicious partisanship, I think it's really kind of destructive. It prevents us from having debates about those issues, frankly, that are so irreconcilable right now. But I think it can lead to breakdown of civil society, and it's one of the reasons is because there's no room for for kindness or friendship to somebody of the opposing party if you live in those camps. And maybe if your entire family is of the same party, maybe it's easier to fall into that. And but if you come from a politically divided family, then perhaps it's a little easier to see across the aisle and say, you know what, we're still Americans at the end of the day. We still celebrate the 4th of July and American independence. We all believe in the Constitution. We all believe in free speech and the freedom of religion and due process and all of the protections under the Constitution that were designed to prevent partisanship and factions from destroying our society. James Madison wrote about factions in the Federalist number 10, and the Constitution was designed to mitigate the effects that faction could have on, destroying liberty, and shutting down dissent or disagreements on on issues or not even allowing any dialogue to occur, I think is wrong. And I think it's more important that we consider what unites us as Americans rather than simply what divides us. I mean, yeah, there are political divisions in Washington, D.C., no question. Ellen DeGeneres and George W. Bush, they might not see eye to eye on a lot of issues, but they can be friends. Those aren't the same thing. And if we're just going to say that all Republicans are war criminals, like the president, I mean, for what it's worth, in 2002, the Iraq War was authorized by Congress. It wasn't like they just invaded the country, and it wasn't without congressional authority. And the war was executed in much the way that wars are. I mean, do bad things happen in wars? Yeah, people die. But that doesn't make former President Bush a war criminal. And Ellen DeGeneres shouldn't have to answer for war crimes. Like, she's a war criminal herself for sitting with the war criminal president. I mean, it's ridiculous. And you see nowadays people threatening folks, if they've supported President Trump, that they're just going to be basically, we're going to be like the Vichys in France, where we're supposedly fascist or something because we support the president, or if you're just a Republican. And I think this is not how you're going to carry on a civil society. This is how you're going to divide people to such an extent that they don't see any purpose in politics anymore. No more purpose in elections, and things can really break down. I mean, this is America. We have had a civil war before. It could happen again. Don't think it can't. Country first, not party. I think that's really, really, really important to emphasize here, that we're not going to allow our differences to define what we are as a country. There's more to America than politics. And I think that if we could just focus on some of those things, I think these differences would probably seem much smaller. And I'll leave you with a close here. At the end of the day, America is still a country, and we all have to fight for it before we lose to civil society forever. Republicans, Democrats, Independents, everyone. Thank you, Ellen, for helping all Americans to see that. That's the commentary. This is Robert Romano, Vice President of Public Policy with Americans for Limited Government, dailytorch.com. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and have a good day.